If you're thinking about moving to Draper, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the different levels of Draper, so stay tuned. Hi, this is Melissa Ballman, and I'm a real estate agent here in the greater Salt Lake City area. So what that means, if you're looking at making a real estate move, I'd love to connect with you. Shoot me a text, send me an email, do what you got to do, but get in touch with me. But first, today, I want to talk about the 3 different levels, if you will, of Draper and what you need to know about living in each different level and things to consider if you're making that move. So first things first, I am up at the top of South Mountain, and this area is known as Suncrest. So one of the appealing things of Suncrest is you can see behind me, you're literally on top of everything. You look down at Salt Lake Valley. If you're on the south side, you can see out to Utah County. So one of the benefits of living up here that appeals to people is because you're up here, you can find homes with wonderful views, but you also get up above the inversion. Now, some of the downfalls of living up this high is you're definitely going to have more snow. It's going to be a little bit windier most days, like it is right now, just a little breeze. And a lot of people feel like they're really disconnected from things in Suncrest. There's no grocery store up here. There's no gas station up here. There's one little restaurant. There's a fire station. But as far as conveniences go, you are going to have to drive down to one of the valleys, which, to kind of give perspective, from where I'm at right now, getting down the mountain to Interstate 15 on a good weather day will take you about 7 to 10 minutes from the entrance of Suncrest heading down to Salt Lake Valley. So here's what I'm talking about with the inversion. You can kind of see that layer out there, and up here in Suncrest you get above that. You're pretty much guaranteed to get above that, and it's one of the few places that you can, unless you go up to like Park City or somewhere like that. No matter what area of Suncrest you're in, you're not far from trails. You have trails that will take you out to Corner Canyon, mountain biking, pretty much everywhere. You can actually get down to the bench, which is the next area I'm going to talk about, is what's the difference between Suncrest, the bench, and then I'll take you down to the flat part of Draper. Now you can see the main road going down to Suncrest, or going down to the valley from Suncrest. If you haven't already, make sure you watch my video about what it's like to drive in the snow, because I will show you firsthand what it looks like on kind of a heavy snowfall day and the speed cars go that are coming down from Suncrest into the valley, that are getting to work, getting kids to school, whatever. Okay, so next, I am down a little bit further from Suncrest on what is known as the bench, and I'm actually closer to the east bench, right here at the South Mountain Golf Course right behind me. And I'll take you along the bench. Now, the interesting thing about the east bench is that you are still going to be about 7 minutes from the local grocery store, Harmon's. It's going to take you still about 7 to 10 minutes to get over to Interstate 15. So very similar times to Suncrest. You're still going to have some of the mountain views. And the thing to know about living on the bench on South Mountain is that you're kind of right at that cutoff for inversion. Some days you're going to be above it, some days you're going to be right at it, and some days you're still going to be in it. You're still going to have great mountain views being on the bench. You're still going to have the view lots on the valley. You're also going to have things on the bench like the Draper Rec Center, the Draper pool that's outside, and of course the golf course that you can see right here. There is a couple of gas stations just a little bit further west over here. So closer than the grocery store, you would still have things like gas stations, and they sell, common things like bread, stuff like that. You're also still going to have lots of mountain trails all along Mike Weir Drive. You can find the trails for hiking, mountain biking. It's still going to connect to Corner Canyon area for mountain biking. And just over in this area behind the golf course on that side of Draper is going to be things like the rodeo, the suspension bridge, all those popular things. So even though you are further west on South Mountain, just behind these houses is a trail, and these trails will actually take you all the way up to Suncrest. You can walk up on the mountain. I think they would even tie into Corner Canyon. I've never gone that far on the trail, so I don't know. But still, tons and tons of trails. You have the paragliding park just down the street from me, and I'm going to turn around here so you can see, even though you're still on the west part, you're closer to Interstate 15. You're closer to the grocery stores where you're going to be, probably about 4 minutes to Harmon's. The rec center is here close. You're still going to have good views of the valley. And just like I said over in on the east bench, is you're still going to be kind of right at that breaking point of inversion or not in this space. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, when you live on the bench or even in Suncrest, cell phone service is not known to be the best in either location. There's oftentimes you're either going to have to be connected to the Wi-Fi to have really good signal and be able to carry on a conversation. Otherwise, it's texting. Most of the time when I am on South Mountain or up in Suncrest, I only text people. I will not get on phone calls. I actually have a house here on South Mountain, and that was one of my biggest peeves living in that house, is the cell phone coverage is not known to be the best. So as I'm here with the houses and stuff behind me, I do want to talk a little bit about pricing and what to expect on the different levels of Draper. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And finally, let's talk about flat Draper. I am here at Corner Canyon High School because when you think of flat Draper, Corner Canyon is really pretty central. And you can see behind me some of the views of the mountains around the entire valley. Just behind me, you'll see all the Ochre Mountains. And then when you go back this direction, there's South Mountain and Suncrest that you've already seen. And then the East Mountains right there behind me. So flat Draper still has views. They're just not going to have the city or county views that you get in Suncrest and even on South Mountain. So let's talk a little bit about flat Draper and some of the benefits of living in flat Draper. Number one is convenience. You're going to be close to everything. You're going to be close to 123rd and all of the shopping and restaurants and food and dry cleaners and everything that's down 123rd, gyms, etc. You're going to have easier, quicker access to the freeway than you would on South Mountain or even Suncrest. Now, I know I keep saying South Mountain, that's habit, but for the sake of this video, just know that that means the bench and all along that area. So aside from the convenience part of being close to everything, you're also going to have larger home lots in the flat Draper, and you'll see it in my drone video. Flat Draper is where you're still going to find horse property. You can't find that on the bench or in Suncrest. If you are looking not necessarily for horse property in Draper specifically, but just larger lots, half-acre lots, all of that, that's going to be in flat Draper. Now, typically speaking, when you compare houses, flat Draper to South Mountain to Suncrest, if you were to purchase a home in Suncrest and comparable to flat Draper, you're usually going to pay more in flat Draper than you would in Suncrest. And actually, oftentimes you'll see appraisers give more weight in their appraisals and pricing for flat Draper versus Suncrest. So if you're looking at homes in Draper, just know that, I mean, honestly, everything's pretty expensive right now. The market's really crazy. But just know that Suncrest is generally going to be cheaper than what you would find in flat Draper. Now, of course, if you have an amazing view lot in Suncrest, then yeah, that's probably going to be up there in sales price. So let's go over some of the pros and cons of living in the flat part of Draper, the benches, and Suncrest. So as I mentioned before, I have a house on South Mountain I bought 20 years ago. It was the first house I ever moved to Utah in. And I've also lived in flat Draper and currently live in flat Draper. And I can tell you kind of what I said when I was up on the bench. My cell phone service is tremendously better. You're not going to have quite the issues with cell service in flat Draper as you will on the bench and Suncrest. Now, you will be further from the mountain trails for mountain biking and things like that. But the important thing to know is no matter where you live in Draper, there's always trails that connect. Actually, right next to Corner Canyon, I'm looking at a trail right now. It's a paved trail, and these paved trails go all over the city and tie into the mountain biking trails and all of the dirt trails around the area. So if you're an outdoors person, you don't have to worry about that. Just know that you're going to probably travel further if you live in the flat part of Draper. Another thing important to know is if you live on the bench, and especially in Suncrest, you are going to want to have a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicle for the winters. I've said it lots of times. Like I said, living on South Mountain for almost 20 years, if we get a decent snowfall, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people with front-wheel drive cars that can't even get to the gas station on the bench. So imagine trying to get to Suncrest. There's been storms that in the past that I've seen people just leave their car at the bottom of the mountain because they can't get up it. They can't even get to the bench homes. So keep that in mind. It's not all the time. It doesn't happen a ton, maybe once or twice a winter, depending on the snowfall and how wet of a winter it is. When you get up to Suncrest, temperatures are going to be not as warm as in the flat part of Draper, which is nice in the summertime, but you may not love in the winter time. You're also going to have way more snow. I don't know if you've noticed throughout the video, when I started at Suncrest, there was still snow on the mountain up there, snow around houses, all of that. And as I've come down the hill, you see less and less snow. So while we're talking about weather, there's the wind. There's a reason there's a paragliding park on South Mountain on the bench, and it's ranked one of the top in the world because of the consistent winds. So when you're looking at Suncrest and the bench, just know it's going to be windier there most days than you would get on the flat part of Draper. Now, don't get me wrong, when storms are blowing in, it's windy everywhere. And I'm not saying it's windy every single day in Suncrest or on the bench. Just know the winds are going to be more frequent there and higher winds. So I hope you enjoyed my video today. Like I said, I've lived in Draper for 20 years. My kids have gone to schools here in Draper. I shop here all the time. Like, I know Draper like the back of my hand. So if you have questions about living in Draper or you're thinking about making a move to the area, feel free to reach out to me. I am always here to help, but as always, make it a great day.